Okay, friends. Hi, Doc South here. I've got a I've got a rather neat, I think anyway, a rather neat little story for you. What happened today? I was helping Sandy move some of her stuff for that she takes up to the Slatington, Pennsylvania indoor flea market, co-op, I suppose, might be another way to put it. And she's going to work on it today. I guess she wants to get it oiled and stuff. A cabinet, yeah, that she got from. I guess she got it somehow. She's always out rooting around and finding things, and this one she figured she could fix up for people. And while we were moving stuff to rearrange so the cabinet could be worked on without being in the way, I found a rather interesting object. And I remembered a story I had written that this object figures into. So while I got the object in sight, I'm going to give you this story. Now, this one's probably going to take about 10 minutes. Do you have a coffee? Okay. Huh? You do? Okay. I got mine here. Oh, yes. Okay. We're all set. Okay. This one, probably take about 10 minutes. It'll be 10 worthwhile minutes. I think you'll like this story. I know I enjoyed writing it. And this is actually from long ago. It's one of my early written blurbs. I may have even done this one as a video, but wherever it is, I can't find it. So I'll do it again. Big deal. Okay. It's called Smitty. Yeah, my wife, and here we go. My wife Sandy needed a car pretty bad. Not that she was complaining, but the one she had could have been very useful to the Mosquito Control Commission. Just idling, it certainly could have rid the entire Jersey Pine Barrens of ticks, skeeters, fleas, and campers. In fact, if Sandy just drove a mile or two into the Pine Barrens, well, it would be a safe bet that the Jersey Devil would have to move to Brooklyn. Indians complained that she was messing up their smoke signal network. Yes, the only good thing was she didn't have to call and say she was coming home. All I had to do was look out the window for the approaching exhaust trail going up into the atmosphere, and there you go. Plus, you could hear the car coming from 10 miles out. If she was going somewhere she'd never been to, I could stand out on her deck with map in hand, and then just by watching the twists and turns of her exhaust plume contrail, I could see if she made the proper turn at a given intersection. It was one of those cars, yes. Another nice thing was she could only drive on nice days. In the rain, whenever she turned on the windshield wipers, well, they'd fly off their posts and into the woods. Also, the ashtrays were full. Not full of ashes, but spare screws and bolts that we couldn't easily identify. We just couldn't identify and reinstall them. Heaven knows where they came from. The final blow came when the steering wheel came off and she had to use a crescent wrench to steer. It's like almost like an airplane. Yeah, I was riding with her when that happened, and finally had to put my foot down. Of course, my foot went through the floorboards. We were in a pickle. The car's trade-in value might have gotten us a small coffee. We didn't have much money, and the second-hand store we owned took almost every cent we had to maintain. That store was the financial equivalent of Sandy's car. Luckily, I was doing a lot of car shows and cruise nights back then. I told Sandy that maybe I could ask around. Maybe one of the car people would have an idea as to what we could do. If nothing else, they might know a junkyard with a hole in the fence. We could sneak up one night and shove her old car through the hole and run. Maybe, too, I said, the hot rodders might know someone who sells cars cheap. You never know. So I think I was at the Chatterbox playing tunes for the Wanderers. The cruise nights there. Oh, this was long ago now. When I felt the time was right, I picked up my microphone and made my plea. Mostly I asked if anyone knew of a place where I could find a good but cheap used car for Sandy. I didn't need to get rid of the old car anymore. It dissolved in a heavy and windy thunderstorm. Just the tires were left, and I used them to hold down the tarps on the firewood pile. So yeah, it was all yeah. I didn't get too many suggestions from the audience. People mostly told me about this dealership or that junkyard, but I wasn't really getting anything concrete for sure. The gig was over and I was packing up my stuff. I was wondering how I was going to get my equipment to the car shows after Sandy commandeered my van. Yeah, she'd just take it. I was thinking if maybe I could get a cheap horse and a buckboard somewhere. I turned to grab one of my turntables and stopped short. I almost bumped into Smitty. Smitty was and still is, I believe, one of the Wanderers. He and his wife Marie live in Florida now, but back when they lived down in Morris County near Denville, I think. But back then they lived down in Morris County near Denville. If I had to describe Smitty in one word, I'd have to say Fonzie. Smitty might disagree just because, like the Fonz, he's not full of himself. He's a quiet, tough, observant human being. Like Fonzie, he's one of those people who always has life's jumper cables or the right tool handy for whatever life throws at a fellow traveler in this world. I don't think I've ever seen Smitty brag about any of the cool things he's done. He just quietly does them. Tough as he is, I don't think I've ever seen him push his weight around like a bully. In an argument, he would listen as well as talk. I'm sure this is embarrassing him, all the stuff I'm saying. Marie picked herself a great husband, and well, I'll just leave it at that. So Smitty kind of startled me when I turned, and there he was. But I've always been happy to see him. He had something to tell me. Smitty said that he had heard that Sandy needed a car. I said, well, he heard right. It turns out Smitty had a pretty good idea. He said that he had a car back at his shop that was just gathering dust. It was a little subcompact. It might have been a Dodge Colt. I'm pretty sure it was. It had quite a few miles on it. It needed brake pads, but other than that, it ran pretty good. Smitty also said that he felt it would be safe enough to drive. It just wasn't much to look at. It wasn't like it was rusty or dented or anything. Smitty said it just wasn't the prettiest or snappiest car on earth by any stretch of the imagination, but it would get from point A to point B all in due time. Well, I was intrigued, of course. That sounded like a way out of the pickle barrel for Sandy. I asked Smitty if we could see it. He told me he'd stick it on a trailer and bring it to my second-hand store on Monday if I'd like. Well, that sounded good to me. I gave the okay. I felt Sandy could go for this car and paint it up herself if need be. I also figured it wouldn't be a whole lot of money either. I said, sure. I said, let's take a look. Okay, Monday came. I think Sandy had something to do that day. I think we were in the middle of cleaning out a house or something, and she said she'd be happy with whatever decision I made, so I waited for Smitty to come on by. I didn't have long to wait. Shortly after I opened the store, I was looking out the front window and I saw a car carrier truck, with the flatbed thing, with a little white car on the back. It was slowing down and signaling a turn. I ran outside and over to the side parking lot of our store. Yep, I could see Smitty in the driver's seat. He was climbing out of the cab as I drew closer. I was eyeballing the car. Smitty, that car looks way better than you said. Sandy's going to love it. Smitty smiled as he got off the trailer. He wanted to show me as he got the car off the trailer. It's one of those beds that lifts up and then okay. He wanted to show me that it started and drove okay. I had to drive it around the parking lot a bit too. Smitty wanted me to do that. He wanted to be sure that I felt it was okay. It ran just fine. He felt with care it would be a good car for a year or so. Still, it needed brake pads, but that shouldn't cost much. I said, we had a deal as near as I could tell, but I needed to know how much he wanted for the car. I about fell out of my skin when Smitty gave me the price. I was shocked at the amount he wanted. With a smile, he said, I don't want anything for the car, Doc. It's free. Just take it. Here's the bill of sale. With that, he started rolling up the hoist chains. I just stood there all quiet with my mouth open. And it's funny, Smitty didn't make a big deal of it. He just said, yeah, you're always doing good. Here, take it. And sooner or later I spoke, are you sure? He was sure. That's it. He was sure. I think he said something like that I was always out helping people and it was about time someone helped me. That's about all he said. I'm going to run this story by him before I publish it because I don't want Smitty to be feeling like I'm bragging for him, which of course is just what I'm doing. He's a great guy. To make a long story short, Sandy loved the car. She got the brakes fixed, of course. I don't remember that she painted the car. She did, however, get a cast iron Bassett hound doorstop, and I had our mechanic bolt it to the roof. That was her idea of spiffing up the car a bit to make it cooler. And this is, yeah, there it is. There's the Bassett hound she had bolted. You can see the bolt holes here, and I think one there. And yeah, you knew it was Sandy. And the car ran really nicely. And she had this guy sitting right up on the roof of the car, and for as long as she had it, and she had it for quite a while. I think something like I know, pal, poor guy. Yes, I think she had that car for a few years. I think she did. But yeah, I found this today, and I was just thinking how it reminded me of Smitty's story. So there you go. Anyway, cool, huh? She loved the car, bolted it to the roof. It was her idea of spiffing up and making it cooler. And she drove it for quite a few years, and it gave her very little trouble. If it needed fixing, our mechanic could do it blindfolded. He had worked on a lot of those cars. I think she loved the car, and it loved her. And thank you, Smitty. Ain't that something? That's an absolutely true story. Just amazing. Just amazing. So, always looking for that kind of stuff to relay to people. Okay. I think we all need to know that there's good people in the world. All too often we're getting the other story, and who needs it? Okay. Anyway, so there you go, friends. Thought you might like that. Bye, and God bless.